The following may contain offensive language, adult humor, and or content that some viewers may find offensive. The views and opinions expressed by any one speaker does not explicitly or necessarily reflect or represent those of Mark Radulich or W2M Network. Please listen with caution, or don't listen at all.
Hooray for Hollywood, where stars are living large, in mansions with their servants and their credit cards in charge, with fame that's fleeting, but the egos never change, where everyone's a genius, except the ones who really arrange. Hooray for Hollywood, where the scandals always sell, where every whispered secret is a new tabloid's tell. Oh, how we adore the endless red carpet galore. Hooray for Hollywood, where less is always more.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages,
all of them
are listening to what will be the least watched show we do this year. Also,
that's a spicy meatball.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, you are listening to a Radulich Broadcasting premier podcast, Damn You Hollywood. And here's your host, Freckles McGee, they call him around the way, but you can call him Robert Winfrey. Yay!
Of all the negative nicknames I've ever accrued over the course of my life, never has that or anything closely approximating it been thrown at me. So you know what?
I don't even know where it came from. I just was like, I gotta call him something. Freckles.
You're just flailing around through the morass of your vocabulary.
The spaceship chipmunk that lives in my brain, and I'm just grab something.
The angry monkey typing away at a keyboard up there with interdimensional Wi-Fi.
I was somewhere this past week, and I was thinking about Fishbone's "Give a Monkey a Brain, and He'll Swear He's the Center of the Universe." Mostly because I like the album cover. You know, it's like a monkey at the center. It's, you know, big, one of those like beige maps of the universe, and there's planets, and everything's in a circle. And at the center of it, where it's supposed to be the sun, it's a monkey. Because, you know, if you give a monkey a brain, he'll swear he's the center of the universe. And for some odd reason, I could not get that out of my head. So how I got from that to Freckles is really the great mystery of our age.
Well, certainly of the next 90 minutes.
Indeed.
Hello, everyone. This is Damn You Hollywood. We're talking about a movie tonight that no one saw. You know what? I probably shouldn't say that. This was one of those things like it trended briefly on Netflix. Like, yeah, the number 2 most watched movie in the United States.
I believe that is an argument in favor of people will watch anything if it's free.
You know, that's not as true as it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Once everything... Look, man. I feel like the modern entertainment attention ecosystem can be summed up in a Simpsons scene. A scene where Krusty the Clown, fired from his job, is standing on the side of the road with a sign that says, "We'll drop pants for money."
We'll drop pants for food.
For food. And Bart and Lisa come up and go, "You having any luck, Krusty?" And he goes, "It's hard when that guy's giving it away for free." And we cut to the old Jewish man.
Ain't what it used to be, ain't what it used to be, ain't what it used to be. Oh, look, it's the crazy old man dancers. Ain't what we used to be, ain't what
the old gray mare ain't what she used to be with his pants around his ankles. And that's just... Somehow that scene perfectly encapsulates the entertainment attention ecosystem in 2025 to me.
So the boomers are dying soon, hopefully. And then I'm next. I'm next. The Generation Xers, which depending on who you ask when Generation X started, I'm either a boomer or I'm a Gen X. I'm not really sure which. I'm 176, and I saw somebody said like, God, I think Gen X starts with like 80 or something like that. I can't remember. Like,
no, you're Gen X.
Yeah. I might have that backwards. In any case, I remember, like, depending on the year, I'm either a boomer or I'm Gen X, not the other way, not millennial. But my point being that so the boomers will be gone soon, and then Gen X will be next, and then after that, I would say the elder millennials are probably the last people that watch traditional television. And I don't mean like real traditional television. I mean modern traditional television. Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, movies, TV. Not YouTube and TikTok. Because I would imagine the younger millennials and then behind them Gen Z and then these Gen Alpha fucks.
It's more Zoomers and Alpha that are trending away from anything scripted.
Right. That's my point. Like, we are living in the last vestiges, the last days of what used to be traditional entertainment. Because, like I said, you call them Zoomers, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, those people, they're not going to watch movies and TV anymore.
No, so they've had their attention spans and dopamine receptors short-circuited by being stuck in front of quick scrolling screens from the time they were 3. That isn't horrifying.
Well, let me I'll say one nice thing, and then we should probably start the podcast. As the kid I was telling you about earlier, he was telling me about the videos that he watches on YouTube, and he reminded me of Jonas, actually, because he was like, "Oh, I watched this YouTube video on the history of the separation of church and state." And my son, who's like, I was watching the video on Dyson spheres. Fucking nerds. Watch Power Rangers. No, but it's hard for me to completely kick those those kids, because it's not like they're watching, all bubblegum bullshit. Like they're watching documentaries.
Here's the thing. There's going to be we think the divide now is bad.
Mm-hmm.
The divide's going to get worse between the people who self-select into, I can learn anything from human history.
Right. Everything becomes a college class I can audit, and I'm 7.
Or, cats.
Yeah. Well, that's how they'll know.
That's going to be, and again, the long-term ramifications of that.
Well, that's going to be how we select who gets to be Soylent Green and who doesn't.
Yeah. That's about the. The other problem with Soylent Green, though?
Other than the fact that it's made of people? What, Robert? What?
There was a giant, and this has only become very, very obvious the last 3 years, 3 to 5 years. Because you and I are old enough to remember this, when one of the great myths of the dystopian future was overpopulation.
Well, technically, that is the case currently, but not in the way that everyone thought.
Overpopulation, again, turns out not really that big of a problem.
Yeah, that's always been tied to that's why the Avengers stuff resonated the way that it did, because it's always been tied to resources or lack thereof. That's not that. I don't want to get into it because it'll dovetail into an entirely different conversation, which I've talked about repeatedly on my TikTok, but I don't want to do it here. But there is an overpopulation, but not because of a lack of resources. We actually have plenty. Technically, we could feed and clothe and house every person on this planet, but we don't. It's an overpopulation in terms of usefulness and non-mutated, and that's the nicest, most clinical way I could put that. But let's move on.
Well, the other problem is, and this again is because everyone was traumatized by sort of anti-natalist, anti-humanist propaganda about overpopulation.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're seeing a bunch of places that are like, boy, we're in trouble in 10 years.
I said that to somebody recently, because a lot of what's happening on TikTok now is people talking about the government wanting to give women $5,000 if they have babies, and the women are like, no, thank you. How many IUDs can I put up there? That's how little they want to have a baby.
You have to understand the following: the number of places trying to jumpstart fertility because they're not at replacement levels of humans. Turkey's trying it, South Korea's trying it, Japan's trying it. There's a bunch of places.
Right.
The data does not show that financial incentives work. They don't.
Yeah.
You can't buy your way out of the narcissistic egotism that goes into.
Well, that and people feeling like the world has become unpredictable and too unreliable to bring children into, and so they're choosing not to. Hey, can we talk about the movie now?
I mean, we could, but
you'd rather do this instead for an hour?
All right. So tonight, to get back on track, we've done our 10 minutes here. Mark looked at this month on the schedule and found nothing on the release schedule, on the actual theatrical releases. Nothing. So he then looked at streaming, our Lord and Savior in the wasteland of entertainment, and said, let's find stuff from here. And I know in the past, Mark has deliberately found the worst crap he could.
I miss Blonde so bad.
That is not what he was doing this month. He just stumbled into it.
So yeah, we're talking The Night Always Comes, which is a 2025 American crime thriller drama film.
All of those need heavy air quotes around them when describing this.
Directed by Benjamin Caron from a script by Sarah Conradt, adapting the 2021 novel The Night Always Comes by Willy Vlautin.
Which is a navel-gazing piece of crap, but you'll get to it.
It stars Robert Winfrey's new Margot Robbie, Vanessa Kirby.
Okay. We'll address that later.
Who is also a producer on the film, because who isn't a producer of their own film? Jennifer Jason Leigh, Zack Gottsagen, Stephen James, Randall Park, who is in everything now, Julia Fox, Michael Kelly, and Eli Roth. And it came out on Netflix August 15th. I honestly, I just looked at the schedule and I was like, this August and September are kind of when we play catch up. We watch streaming movies because between July and October, not a lot out in the theaters that tends to be attractive to me to discuss or worth going to see in the theater. Sometimes you get a jewel in the Nile, but then we catch up with it on streaming later. So I saw this and I was like, I'll take a flyer on a Vanessa Kirby movie, a crime drama, see how it goes. Sometimes it goes well, sometimes it goes the way this one did. But because it is a novel, I want to talk about the fact that when Netflix released Night Always Comes, starring the said Vanessa Kirby, it arrived with the pedigree of a novel that had already turned heads in the literary world. Willy Vlautin's 2021 book wasn't a runway bestseller, but it was a critical success, praised by the New York Times, former newspaper, named by one of the Washington Post's top 25 books of the year in the year of our Lord 2021, and given starred reviews by Publishers Weekly and Kirkus. Vlautin had built his reputation chronicling working class lives with empathy and grit. Oh, good, this is the new Rivethead. And The Night Always Comes fit that mold perfectly. A desperate 2-day sprint through Portland, perfect for sprinting, by the way, with a woman trying to claw her way out of poverty and secure a home of her own. The story was tailor-made for film in theory. On the page, Vlautin gave readers a tense, propulsive arc that played out almost in real time, drenched in the anxieties of gentrification, economic precarity, and family obligation. Those same qualities made it irresistible to Hollywood, believe it or not. A narrative this urgent doesn't just read well, it plays well on screen in theory. The film adaptation, directed again by Benjamin Caron of The Crown and Andor, for you nerds out there, stays true to the heart of the book. Kirby's Lynette is still the same woman fighting against impossible odds, and the themes of desperation and inequality remain front and center. Portland itself, both novel and film, suggest is a character in its own right. Its shifting neighborhoods, cracked streets, and neon shadows reflecting the collapse of a dream. But the movie trims and tightens, where Vlautin's novel stretches over 2 days and gives more space to Lynette's interior life. The film compresses events into a single long night, sharpening the sense of noir momentum. Characters who play larger roles in the book are streamlined here in service of pacing and emotional clarity. The adaptation leans heavily into cinematic immediacy, chases confrontations and atmosphere, where the novel lingers on the slow suffocation of poverty. So, why in God's green earth did this thing get optioned? Well, it's not because it was a mass market hit, by God, but because it was the right kind of book, acclaimed, topical, and built around a story that screamed for a visual medium in theory. At a time when housing insecurity and the fragility of the working class are front-page realities, Vlautin's novel offered a mirror. Filmmakers like Kirby and Caron saw it in the bones of a searing thriller. The result is a faithful but heightened adaptation. The book gives you the quiet dread of watching a woman's life unravel. The film gives you that dread compressed into a single night, ratcheted up until it feels like the city itself might swallow her whole. And speaking of swallowing Vanessa Kirby whole, here is Robert Winfrey with a brief plot synopsis. Hit it, Johnny.
Your AI was like influenced heavily by Netflix studios with that.
Good whispering in the ear.
Good grief.
Thank you for saving that commentary to the end.
It was close.
I appreciate you.
That was a close one. All right, so the plot goes a little something like this. We meet Vanessa Kirby, who lives in Portland, which is always a mistake. I lived near Portland in the 90s. It was a mistake then. It's not gotten better. For anyone asking where in particular, that would be Gresham if you want my Pacific Northwest credentials, because nobody else is going to look that up. So she lives in a rundown house with her mom, her personality disordered mother, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, who that is the only character type she plays these days. And her Down syndrome brother.
Yeah.
Some kind of mental handicap. I assume Downs, but I don't think it's ever confirmed. And like many poor people in dilapidated places, they're just barely getting by. So she wakes her mother up from the couch and goes, "We're closing on the house today. Bring the money. Be at the lawyer's office. And don't screw this up." And then she goes to work. She takes her brother to wherever she takes him. She goes to work at a bakery. And she has another job at a bar. And she goes through the drudgeries of life. Then she goes with her brother to the lawyer's office, to the landlord. And her mom's not there. She calls, "Mom, where are you?" She goes, "I can't talk to you right now because I'm drunk." She's not drunk, but that's sort of implied. And ultimately, poor Vanessa Kirby has to just go, "I got nothing. Can you give us one more day?" And this poor real estate agent's like, "I'm just trying to, I've given you like 4 extensions, but sure, tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock, if you need another deadline." So she goes home with her brother, and her mom drives up in a brand new Mazda. Like, "I took the $25,000 that we were going to use for the down payment on the house, and I bought a car.
We ain't got the money for the mortgage on the farm.
I got these magic beans. You understand?"
that I turned into a Mazda.
And there's a fight because Vanessa Kirby is like, "They're going to evict us." And the mom's like, "I can't talk to you when you get like this." I imagine you had flashbacks.
Oh my god! Like this movie is ridiculous and too real all at the same time.
It is a weird combination. So Vanessa Kirby decides, all right, I have 12 hours to get 25 grand. What can I possibly do? So she goes to her friend, who's a whore, and not even joking.
No, she goes on a date with Randall Park first.
Oh, right. So this married man she's sleeping with, because she's not exactly a person of high moral fiber.
She is an escort, and he is her John.
She's a whore.
Sex
He's a
work
client.
is real work, Robert Winfrey. Everyone says so. I'm just tweaking your nipples.
Everyone can say the sky's purple, too. It ain't going to change it.
Please move forward.
Anyway, she goes on a date and says, "You know, we've been seeing each other for a while, and you still haven't introduced me to Ant-Man." Sorry, bad joke. "And, you're rich. Can you help me out a little bit?" And he goes, "No."
And like most whores, she has to hassle him for money.
Yeah, and he goes, "No, I'm married. You're a whore. Why would I give you? Why would I do this?" So she goes to her other friend. So she steals his car, like you do, and goes to see her friend, who's also a whore.
Hooker, right, prostitute, escort. Damn it!
You are running out of euphemisms.
I have fucking progressive Tourette's.
You just start spouting random letters, and eventually they come out in the right order because you face rolled the keyboard.
The appropriate term is escort, so that we don't aggravate people, please.
I don't care.
Okay.
This is not the hill you guys want to die on, okay? Just trust me on this.
It's so easy to just say escort, Robert.
Is it? So she goes to her friend and goes, "Look, I gave you that $3,000 to bail you out of jail that one time. I kind of need you to pay me back." And her friend goes, "No. Do you understand? I was in jail. You were the only number I had. Sorry, your life sucks. And this is how we're going." So they have a little bit of a fight, and then Vanessa Kirby finds the safe in this apartment. And she tries to open it, but she's not very bright and doesn't have the skill set to open a safe. So she drives around and finds a guy who got out of prison, who works at the bar that she works at or was around there. And it's like, hey, you're a person of color who went to jail. Can you open a safe?
You seem just like the type to do breaking and entering and safe cracking.
And he goes, it wasn't like that. I was set up, you see. And she goes, well, can you at least look at this? It's my safe and I need the money that's in it. And he goes, everything about this seems sketchy, but you're a allegedly pretty white woman, so sure. So he goes with her to the hotel, to this apartment, and he looks at the safe and goes, you told me this was like a Home Depot safe, which you can open by dropping on its corner, which is true of a lot of those really crappy safes, by the way. This takes skill and finesse. And I can't do this, and you clearly don't live here, so this is getting more and more illegal by the second. And she goes, yeah, but I can pay you some of what's in you can have some of what's in the safe. And he goes, fine, I am tempted by your sob story and money. So they take the safe and they go to the bad part of Portland, which is all of Portland. And because he knows a guy who kind of knows how to open safes. So they go to this very sketchy dude who's probably on meth and is covered in tattoos, who gets his inbred cousin to show up and watch the door because we need one of those.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks at this and he says, well, that's a safe. And he tries to go at the hinges with a grinder, which is no. And then he says, no, we got to go old school. So he picks up a sledgehammer and hits the door a few times. Ladies and gentlemen, if your safe can be opened by hitting it with a sledgehammer, by a tweaker hitting it with a sledgehammer, you wildly overpaid for your safe. But it works because the plot says it has to. So they open it up, and inside the safe, they find cash, half a kilo of cocaine, and several expensive watches, among other various paraphernalia. And the tweaker grabs Vanessa Kirby by the throat, because there's a bunch of cocaine in the safe, holds a box cutter to her face, and goes, whose is this, and what did you get me into? Which, while violent, is not actually an inappropriate response to opening a safe and finding a bunch of drugs.
That is very appropriate. Hey, who did you just rip off? Whose drugs do we have?
What are we doing here? And she goes through her litany of lies. And then there's a fight that breaks out, and this 90-pound, 120-pound woman at the most picks up a heavy piece of machinery and throws it at the inbred guy and hits him in the head miraculously and causes him to seize up. Her throw is pathetic. And anyway, she grabs the money, she grabs the drugs, she escapes. The guy, Cody, that she met, joins in with her and okay, so go somewhere, and they get a little drunk and she vomits. And then they count the cash. She's like, I got 19 grand. It's a pretty good haul. Oh no, alas, I am $5 short. Give or take. And she goes, well, I got this car that I stole. And you're like, well, I might be able to get you some cash for that. And she goes, well, I need to see the money first. So he gets her some of the money. And they go to the car. They pick up her brother along the way because he's been at daycare for way too long. And they drive to where she parked the car, only to find that she parked it in a bad part of town. Again, that's almost all of Portland. And it's been broken into. So she and Cody fight, and she takes the money, and she drives off, and she's still short because she didn't get all of it. So she takes the cocaine to a scumbag pawn shop owner who used to pimp her out when she ran away from home at the age of 16. Don't worry about the backstory. This is just so the author, director, and actress can opine about young people being manipulated by evil old white men on the streets of Portland. And he says, wow, that's half a kilo of cocaine. I don't have $6,000 laying around here. And she's like, but I need it. I don't have it. And she tries to emotionally blackmail him with his terrible, terrible past. That would work on someone who's damaged enough to do those terrible, terrible things. But hey, emotional logic, right? Anyway.
When the last Rambo movie that dealt with sex trafficking is the most realistic portrayal of sex trafficking, and this seems like wish fulfillment and fantasy, boy, are we struggling in film with these particular issues.
That is absolutely the truth. So anyway, he makes a few calls and he says, okay, so Eli Roth, he lives in one of those houses, you know, the places I pimped you out to because trauma. He'll give you $3,000 for it. And she goes, but I need more. And he goes, look, if you can find somebody else to take this off your hands for more money, God bless. But you came here and this is all I got. Now, here's the number. Here's how you get in. And don't you ever come back here because you're nothing but bad luck. I got a girlfriend. I got a kid. I'm trying to move on with my life. So she leaves. She drives up to this place and finds Eli Roth. And bad things happen because Eli Roth's character is a scumbag. He throws her through a glass table. But she gets her money. And she drives back home. And her mother pulls glass out of her back as Vanessa Kirby realizes, oh, you're like messed up, but you didn't blow the closing on the house because you forgot about it. You want me to leave. You don't want me around. You think I'm bad luck. And she goes, yeah, you're a terrible kid. And I'm not exactly a great mom, but yeah, I've made arrangements where your brother and I are going to go after this place gets repossessed and
Except
the developer moves on.
Brother. Like that's also like the big reveal here is that the Down syndrome kid is actually Vanessa Kirby's son that the mom raised.
Yeah. Yeah, because random.
Well, what the driving factor in a lot of this was Vanessa Kirby is trying to make right what was once wrong.
Yeah.
You know, she believes, and I would say this is one of the few things the movie does halfway well, is she has this really strong relationship with this person that she has, you know, agreed to treat as a brother when it's actually her son, and she wants to save the house so that they can stay together because she wants to stay with her son.
Yeah.
And the mom, what's the actor's real name again?
That's Jennifer Jason Leigh.
Jennifer Jason Leigh is like, let's talk about a couple of things which you may not understand. One, he's afraid of you. Two, I raised him as my son. He only knows you as his sister. He'll live if you're not around. And three, you are a terrible human being. You've been a terrible human being, and we'll be better off without you. There's a reason why I didn't go through with this, and it's because we're trying to get away from you, you psycho. And Vanessa, and like the whole point of the movie is we're at the end of the movie now, and that's kind of how the movie ends. Is Vanessa Kirby just basically going, "Oh, well, despite running away from home, which is probably an abusive situation, you know, and malignant neglect, and running into the streets and being sex trafficked and, you know, having all kinds of trauma. As it turns out, I'm also a terrible human being and my own mother doesn't love me. Finn."
She says goodbye to Kenny. She leaves a note so we can get a voiceover because pretension. And she drives off to start, in her own words, fighting for herself. And I puke. The end.
Yeah, this is, first of all, there are a lot of movies where the city isn't of itself a character. This is not one of them. I don't care what the AI says.
Yeah, your AI was lying through its teeth there. This could have been set anywhere.
Like, I read it as is because
I understand.
That's what I wanted to do, because there's a difference between the kind of like news desky introduction and what we're doing now. So like that is the presentation. This is the review. This is the opinion. And I am of the opinion that I didn't get a sense that could have been any city.
Oh yeah.
I did not get a sense of that was Portland. When you shoot a city as character in your movie, you have to show places around the city that are unmistakably that city. If you're going to show Toronto, you have to show things that are only exclusive to Toronto. When we show every movie ever that has ever shown New York City, what do you see? The Empire State Building. When they were up, the Twin Towers, the Brooklyn Bridge, you know, the Hudson Bay, etc., etc. When you show Los Angeles, you show the Capitol Building. You know, you show the Hollywood sign. You show the neon lights of Sunset Boulevard. This is what you do. Anyway, you show in Chicago, you show the trains, you show, et cetera, et cetera. So my point is, they don't do any of those things with Portland, which meant this could have been any grimy city anywhere, And if the author, this is why I wanted to talk about the book, if the author was like, Portland is this living, breathing thing, and it's this sort of microcosm of a bigger issue I want to talk about, because I want to talk about gentrification. I want to talk about the death of the middle class. I want to talk about economic struggle. One, watch the last Candyman movie that came out, because of all the bad things that the director did in that one, at least Nia DaCosta got that part of it right. There you
more or less.
Thank you. You absolutely got a sense of what gentrification does to areas that have middle to lower middle class, or lower class economic people. This doesn't do that. Like, I got the fact they were kind of living in a shanty house, but okay, that could have been Long Island for all I knew.
Could have been anywhere.
Right. So also, if you're talking about gentrification, you have to be very specific about that, because you have very nice downtown areas next to slums all over this country. That's not necessarily, it can be, but that's not necessarily a example of gentrification. Gentrification is, you took the docks in Brooklyn that have been abandoned and turned them into high-priced condos. You took the ports in Baltimore and turned them into, high-priced real estate. That's gentrification. You take areas of, like in Brownsville, for example. This actually happened. That were the poorest of the poor in a high-crime area, dumped tons of money into it, and white people moved in. And black people had to move out because they were priced out of fucking Brownsville, which is this close to Mad Max territory. That's
they all
gentrification.
Moved to Detroit, and it became more of Mad Max.
Yes. My point is, like, if this movie wants to talk about that, it didn't do a good enough job of getting you there. Like,
no, because no one who whines about gentrification these days is smart enough to actually have the conversation around gentrification.
Yeah.
So all they do is do these like sob story, emotionally manipulative, navel-gazy think pieces on human interest crap. Because gentrification is a real, believe it or not, contrary to everyone just who likes to throw their hands up in the air and scream about it, is a complicated issue.
Yeah. So the other thing that they don't beef up well enough in order to execute what they tried to execute is the story between the mom and the daughter. The mom's reaction to Vanessa Kirby at the end, Jennifer Jason Leigh's reaction to Vanessa Kirby at the end of the movie, is from out of fucking left field. They're so in a hurry in this movie to get her into the mean streets of Portland. There's not enough time spent on the relationship between the mom and the daughter to where at the end, when the mom, because that's supposed to be an emotionally gut-wrenching scene.
Yeah.
When the mom rejects Vanessa Kirby after everything she's done, you as the audience member are supposed to go, "Oh no, Vanessa, like, what a terrible thing this woman did. What an evil bitch she is." And you're like, but the movie doesn't do enough to get you there. So you're just kind of like, you're just sort of left with, what was the point of any of this? It kind of does a decent job of building the relationship between the brother-son and Vanessa Kirby. But again, the heart of this movie should have been the brother actually telling her, "I don't want to go with." Hearing it from the mom is from a poison well. Hearing it from the brother, but I love you. You're not afraid of me. And he was like, "Yes, I am. I've spent the entire night being afraid of you, and you psychopath. Like, you put me in danger repeatedly. Yes, I want to go with mom, or I want grandma, whatever the fuck we're going to call her." Like, that would have been an emotionally wrenching thing. Like, Vanessa Kirby did all of these things to be with her son brother, and then he rejects her. That's stronger than the mom doing it, which comes out of nowhere. The movie just wants to tell you, wants to do, what is it, 28 hours or whatever the fuck the movie is with Ed Norton, where it's like the last night before he goes to prison. 25th hour, yeah. It so badly wants to be 25th hour, but with a chick, that it goes out of its way to get you there as fast as possible, and then that's all the movie is. But like, Ed Norton, despite the fact that his character is going to prison and he's around a lot of unlikable people, Ed Norton in and of himself in that movie is a decent character who you're kind of rooting for. And when he's talking about, "Hey, kick my teeth in, I don't want to have to blow guys in prison," you're like, "Oh, poor Ed Norton." I don't get that sense of sympathy from Vanessa Kirby.
There's a couple of things that also go to work in as far as helping 25th Hour. One, it's well written. Two, it's set in New York, and the city there actually is an important part of the story.
Yeah.
There's whole scenes that are just like these people dealing with like post 9/11 stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, Barry Pepper has a big monologue because he lives right next to where the Twin Towers used to be.
There's no discussion about what's going on in Portland.
Yeah.
You know, there had to be like a conversation. You know, Portland used to be this wonderful town where we built ships and buildings and we had culture, by God. And now that Apple has come in and I don't know, like whatever the fuck the problem with Portland is. It needed it. I hate to do this because I'm going to get fucking yelled at by everybody, but there needed to be that scene where I'll be vague about it, where someone just yells, "We used to make shit in this country. Now we just stick our hands in everyone else's pocket." Like, that needs to happen in order for you to understand why this movie is being told in this place, and that never happens. So instead, it just looks like the movie is about this woman trying to not get evicted from her house. Which, don't get me wrong, I don't want to be evicted from my house either. And if I was told you have 24 hours to come up with the money for the mortgage on the farm, yeah, there would be a sense of urgency about it, and that could be compelling, but it wasn't enough to drive this stupid movie.
No. So, you referenced the 25th Hour. I got like halfway through this, and I sent you the message that this is just the Gen Z take on Falling Down, but a lot worse.
Yeah.
Like, Falling Down was well acted, well written, had something to say, and like actually logically built and escalated, and this is just not it.
Yeah.
So
I know Rob's not a huge fan of Vanessa Kirby. I happen to think she's a good actress. I don't think she was.
Oh, you did it. You stepped all over my thing.
Oh, sorry. Well, I just wanted to say this before I turned it over to you. I have more to say, but I want to get you in here. I don't think the script served Vanessa Kirby well, and I actually think her as a producer on this might have worked against her because I don't think anyone was telling her no, and I think they were just kind of depending on her natural acting ability, and this needed more from her. This almost needed to be melodrama, and instead they went for fucking John Wick, and it's like it's not either of those things. Stop it.
So, guys, for those of you who've been around for a while, Mark has this thing wherein he will decide that I'm wrong about something.
Okay.
And it doesn't happen all that often, but occasionally Mark decides this is a thing he wants to do. And a few years ago, we reviewed a movie, I forget which one, but Vanessa Kirby was involved. And when we reviewed it, I said, man, Vanessa Kirby's not a good actor. Now, in fairness, I'm saying something that I don't have necessarily all the information to make a claim. I should have just said she's not very good in this, because Mark agreed with that. But Mark said, no, she's very good. She's very good in The Crown. And I went,
she was in Mission Impossible Fallout.
Okay.
Oh, you know what it was? It was Hobbs and Shaw.
Yeah, that was the first time. That was it. It was Hobbs and Shaw.
I mean, she was it. I don't think we cared about her in Mission Impossible Fallout, but that would have been the first. But I think the one where we were just like, she sucks as an actress was Hobbs and Shaw.
Okay, no. You first brought it up in Mission Impossible, but I didn't make a deal out of it because she's not a very important character.
Yeah.
So I said, and then there's her, and you went, oh, that's Vanessa Kirby. She's good in The Crown. And I kind of went, she's not good here, and we just moved on.
Yeah.
And then we get to Hobbs and Shaw, where she plays the sister of Jason Statham.
Yeah.
And she's not good in that movie. And I said, boy, she's not very good. And Mark went, yeah, but she's good in The Crown. And now somewhere in Mark's mind is, boy, Robert's kind of sticking on this. And then we get to the next Mission Impossible movie, where she features again. And now, because I'm me, I have to make a dig. Like, and there's Vanessa Kirby. I hear she's great in The Crown. And Mark at that point decides, okay, I'm going to, so help me, come hell or high water, I will prove to Robert Winfrey that Vanessa Kirby is a capable and talented actress. So Mark will, I won't say go completely out of his way to make sure we review Vanessa Kirby projects, but it is a mark in their favor when he makes the schedule. And like Sideshow Bob, stepping on rakes, Mark is just desperately trying to get me to watch something that will disprove my current operating assumption that Vanessa Kirby is just not very good. And every time he just steps on a rake and whack. And I'll find another one. And he wanders the other direction. And Fantastic Four, whack.
She was in Napoleon.
And Napoleon, whack.
Yeah.
And now Night Always Comes, whack. It's almost like a Looney Tunes sketch at this point. I'm not even.
Send away the crap. Yoink,
I am not.
away.
I'm not actually trying to Bugs Bunny you with this. I'm just going about my day. And then Mark's like, Vanessa Kirby in this thing. I'm like, okay, we'll review it. And it's not good. I can just see the light die in his eyes every time. Oh, she's just. Oh, golly.
I think the problem with Vanessa Kirby, she does not have the range she's being afforded.
Yeah, that's true.
Like, she kind of needs to stay in the Downton Abbey Crown area. Like, don't do anything that isn't a period piece and mostly keep it British. And anytime she tries to step out of that, like Hobbs and Shaw or Mission Impossible, she's not believable. And here, it's not that she's a bad actress or gives a bad performance. I don't think this is good material for her.
There's a few things going wrong here with her in this role. One, and there's no getting around this one, is the age.
Mm-hmm.
She does not look old enough to have that old of a kid. And she doesn't look like she's seen enough life to get through the story that we're trying to, like, the character we're being told about.
She does not look grizzled.
No, not at all. And like, there's a look that people have who have seen life.
Yeah.
And she doesn't have it. And normally that's meh, but when your character is like, I experienced all this trauma, I ran away from home, I'm a loose cannon, I was sex trafficked, I yada yada yada, like, Mark, you and I know what those people look like. They don't look like that, and they don't just mean like conventionally attractive. Like,
they're also not this capable, and she's not capable. But in order for her to do what she does, they have to make her quasi-capable.
Yeah.
And generally speaking, the kind of life that she's describing, she would not be this capable. She would not have made it through this night.
Oh yeah, almost certainly not. So there's a lot that's going sideways there. They try to introduce the ticking clock, in this case kind of literally, because they flash the time on the screen every now and then, but it doesn't ever lead to anything. So,
you know what a better version of this is, but it's so stylized, it's almost incomparable. But if you want an actress who I think could have pulled this off because she's kind of already done something like this, Karen Gillan, Gunpowder Milkshake.
Okay, I see where you're going. I also think Karen Gillian's not afraid to like do the makeup necessary to make her look weathered.
She was fucking, what the hell is her name? The blue chick from the Avengers.
Yeah, like she would throw herself into this kind of thing.
Right, but that's my point. Like, I could see her, formerly being a hooker, and like begging her John for money. Like, don't we have a thing? Like, Karen Gillan, I think, would have given you the breathy performance this kind of thing demands that Vanessa Kirby struggles with.
Yeah, I could completely get with that. Again, the bad social commentary is just that. Like, our opening whole sequence is just filled with overflowing narration about NPR opining about the state of real estate, the state of the economy, the state of the working people, while still then going to beg for money every 15 minutes because they're NPR. You can just cut my cynicism with a knife, can't you? You can see what I can look. I've never read the book, nor will I, because nothing about that sounds interesting. But looking at this, I can see where the book would have gone. I can see, again, also from your description of it, like what was changed, why was it changed? I'm not even saying I wouldn't have made some of the same changes that they made in adaptation, because navel-gazy prose doesn't lend itself well to long stretches of film. That's one of those things in adaptation you have to understand how to alter from medium to medium. So I'm not going to kill him for that, but trying to introduce this as a thriller, no. As a crime thriller, like in the sense that there are crimes being committed, but this isn't a crime movie. Like that's a specific subgenre that's not at play here. So this kind of just misses on every level.
You know what I'm getting tired of? The video game as plot structure, where you just subsequently do challenges and fetch quests, and you take on increasingly difficult bosses until you get to the final boss, who at no point was in any other part of the video game. He just shows up at the end as a thing for you to defeat.
Yeah.
So most of the third act is Vanessa Kirby and I think it's Eli Roth.
Yeah.
And Eli Roth is playing a sexually scumbag type guy, and he's trying to drug and sexually assault Vanessa Kirby. And Vanessa Kirby is our self-saving princess. So she's going to fight him off, and because he's doing dastardly things, you as the audience member are cheering for Vanessa Kirby to defeat this awful white man. Okay, sure. Here's the problem. You have to buy into what's happening as it's being presented. And I'll give you an example of how things should have gone. When Luke gets to the Death Star and finally freaks the fuck out because the Emperor is threatening Princess Leia, and he's like, "That's my sister. No, thank you," and goes nuts on Darth Vader, you've had a story to follow of Luke and Darth Vader being intrinsically tied to each other. So when they explode and have this fight, you are enraptured by what's happening in that scene. There's also subtext. Is Luke going to go all the way to the dark side and become the thing he is trying to defeat in defeating this giant enemy? Darth Vader isn't a final boss. They are characters in a dramatic scene that happens to feature a sword fight. If you do not lace in your villain throughout the movie as something that is impeding your hero's journey, and just introduce them at the ass end of your story as the final boss, there's no dramatic tension in anything that you're seeing beyond the base presentation. He's bad because he's a rapist. Well, rapists are bad, I get you, but that's not enough here. And I just wanted, at that point, I just wanted it to be over. Like, all right, already. Also, I have to now once again believe that this 90-pound woman can, get well drugged, can take out, take out the man who has all the power in that scene, all the resources, and is 3 times as bigger than her. And it's like, all right, enough with this already. I don't mind seeing women kick ass and do cool stuff. I said so in Ballerina. It was one of the few things about the movie I did like. But come on, man.
Especially when what you're trying to do is present a movie and a story that's allegedly more realistic.
Here's the thing. It's like, if you want to do that, then she has to defeat him with subterfuge. She has to trick him. She has to be like, okay, and then he goes, oh, here we are. And then, poke him in the eye or something. Like, they get into a fist fight and she wins. Like, come the fuck on, man.
Yeah. There's pretty much nothing to say about it. It's just bad.
The real villain of this movie was the mom. And we didn't get enough time with her either.
Yeah.
Again, if you watch 25th Hour, all the issues that Edward Norton is dealing with in that movie are laced in throughout the movie. And it explodes at the end.
Yeah.
That's the difference between The Night Always Comes and 25th Hour, which are very similar in presentation, but one is done narratively correctly, dramatically correctly, and one seems to have missed that day of film school.
Points.
Anything else?
Thank you. No, this movie sucks. It's not good. There's not all that many good elements.
I miss when we watch a movie that's so bad that we have it's a joy to review. Like I wasn't kidding when I said I miss Blonde. Blonde was such a wacky movie, and we had such a great discussion. It's still one of my favorite podcasts we've ever done. I'll probably make a song out of it.
Yeah, just you and me going, man, Anna de Armas is not good.
Mhm.
And
Even like Deep Water, which is I'm naming all of these because they're all streaming movies. Like we've done a fair amount of streaming movies, and most of them have been fair to middling to terrible. But we've had really good conversations. Like our conversation about Deep Water was quite good. Our conversation about Blonde was quite good, even though both movies were not great.
yeah.
This is more like the other movie that was paired with Deep Water, which I now don't remember, the Jason Segel movie, where we were like, "What the fuck is this?"
Oh,
Yeah, that one.
hang on. I will. Oh, no. Still blocking the lens flare.
So I just want to say this. I'm glad that we have a secondary distribution model for people to get their projects out there. Obviously, this movie probably would have never been made if there wasn't a Netflix. You'd have a hard time getting, even if you this is a self-funded indie movie and you sell it at a festival. It gets one screen at a movie theater a few times a day, and nobody knows that it's there because they're all watching Superman or Fantastic Four. At least on Netflix, there's a snowball chance people will actually watch this. But even then, like it had to compete with like Happy Gilmore 2.
Yeah, which people seem to more or less be enjoying.
Yes, it's doing quite well. Or The Old Guard 2, which I've watched most of today. Ugh.
I feel bad for you.
I feel bad for me.
Dude, the first one wasn't good.
No, it was not, and I said so at the time. This is even worse.
Man, I even watched that just because I was back up for the review.
So I would say this, and then we'll move on to the next thing. I was talking to Jonas about this. I had such a switch in the way I'm doing things just in the last 6 months, to where like I went into this year going, I want to watch all the movies, so that when we get to the end of the year, I have a comprehensive view of what's been made and what's good and what's bad, and I can speak intelligently about it. So I have all the time in the world to do all the podcasting in the world. I'm gonna watch these movies. And we're in August. I'm exhausted. These movies have sucked. I don't want to do it anymore. And next year, I'm not gonna. I don't care anymore. If we get to the end of the year and I haven't seen every movie, oh well. Like go listen to the movies that don't suck and some that do, guys, because they can pick up the slack again.
We'll figure out something more manageable for next year. But yeah.
I can't do all these triple features anymore, man. I can't. It's exhausting.
Look, again, we just need to find the right balance where we pepper in a few more that are like the Oscar baity kind of movies.
Well, that's fine. Like, I don't mind doing like that stuff, but like, I started this year doing a Reese Witherspoon fucking Will Ferrell comedy.
That was a mistake.
There's me watching Amy Schumer movies with my leg in the street going, "Hey, sailor." That's what I was doing.
And it's been downhill since then.
Dragging poor Mick with me. All right, you ready to move on?
Yeah, again, this movie sucks. Don't watch it.
Well, welcome to Damn You Hollywood. All right, here comes the money.
We're in the money. We're in the money.
So what's funny here is I was distracted and didn't prepare any of the websites.
Ah, that is funny.
So there is no budget for this, and there is no money. But we can But we can talk about what's going on in the movies.
Yeah.
How did Weapons do last week? Do you remember?
Won the weekend, 40-something million.
All right. Well, folks, it's good.
The fact that hang on. The fact that Weapons beat out Freakier Friday just made my day last week, and
I'm sure.
Hey, it also opened in like 800 less theaters than Freakier Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And now, hey, it only dropped 40%, 48.3.
Weapons is becoming like a huge hit for Warner Brothers.
Good for them. It's a good movie. You should watch it. You'd enjoy it.
Who can't get any good press these days. Freakier Friday maintained its spot at number 2. Nobody, too, which my dad saw. He made a point of telling me about this. So Nobody 2 debuted at number 3. And let me talk a little bit about Nobody for just a second.
Okay.
So back in the year of our Lord 2021, there were not many movies in the theaters, and many of the movies in the theaters were also going to be on Disney+. So I went to the theater in the month of May, the very, very
merry month of May.
Yes, the very merry month of May. And I was looking for a exclusive theatrical exhibition that I could spend my movie pass on. So I
when
took
that
a
was a
flyer.
thing.
Yep. When I had onions on my belt because that was a style at the time.
It warded off the Rona, you see.
And I took a flyer on Nobody because I was like, well, I have the movie pass. I might as well see whatever's in the theater. And then watching Bob Odenkirk do a John Wick was fun once. Fucking once. And Christopher Lloyd, like blowing things up, being doing his character from Taxi, only with only with bazookas, was a lot of fun.
I've never seen Nobody. That did a better job selling me on it than anything.
Yeah, Christopher Lloyd's a lot of fun in that movie. So it was worth going to see. It was a fun thing to see at the time, and great. It did not need a sequel, but because
it got one.
It did well in theaters at the time with the zero competition it had. That the trained monkeys at Universal decided this thing needs a fucking sequel. It doesn't. It just didn't need a sequel, and yet we got one. And I suppose we could have done that instead of this, but I don't want to. I don't want a Robert Winfrey. I just don't want to. I don't want to see, I don't see the point in forcing myself to go see an unnecessary sequel that's going to have zero impact on the culture. It's going to be forgotten as soon as people, within a week of it being out. But my father, and this is the whole reason why I brought this up, my father, I call him my father because he is, he said, son, I've gone to see Nobody 2. And I think you should go see Nobody 2 because you watch films, you do. You talk about it incessantly. It's the only thing you'll talk about with your mother and I because you refuse to talk about anything else, you bad son, you. That last part I might have just added that last part.
Well, only because you got sick of his politics.
Among other things. He said, but you should go see the Nobody 2 because it was a fun movie had by fun people. And I was like, Father. He called him Father. He said, Father, no. No, I will not see the Nobody 2. I have no interest in watching Bob Odenkirk a second time punch his way through a video game's worth of goons. And, and he didn't understand me, Robert. He didn't understand why I was resisting this. I'm like, exhausting is what it is. But also, and I feel vindicated by this, the whole point of this rant is that it came in number 3 for the weekend. It got beat by both Weapons and Freakier Friday, who have both been out for 2 weeks. How about that?
That's true.
How about that? How about it?
You're claiming vicarious victory over your father philosophically when he's not even going to ever listen to this is just the state of things.
Yes, sir. Moving on. Fantastic Four. Falcon 3 to 4. Yeah. Bad Guys 2, 4 to 5. Superman.
Oof.
When is that going to streaming?
End of the month? Start of the next? One of those. I think it's the end of this month.
But even I watched the Many Lives of James Gunn video you sent me. I watched it at dinner today. And yeah, even those guys are just fucking over Superman and James Gunn. Like, it flopped. Get over it.
Well, I sent you that because you and I have talked about this because we understand the math on this.
Right.
And we just got swarmed because people are stupid. And you've been dealing with a lot of pushback, so I figured you could use the boost of like, hey, here's some people who agree with us.
Yeah, who I'm typically not in agreement with.
On a lot of things, true. But, I mean, like, on this point. Like,
yeah.
Again, so you don't have to listen to someone else come out and talk about how Superman is the best thing ever and a smash hit, and James Gunn is already saying, we've shot or are mostly shooting Supergirl on a budget that's bigger than Superman's. That's sure going to go over well. And I'm already rushing Superman 2 into pre-production because I'm totally not getting fired.
Naked Gun in 3 weeks fell from 5 to 7. Jurassic World 7 to 8. F1 8 to 9. Cooley debuted at 10. War 2 debuted at 11. A re-release of Shin Godzilla debuted at 12.
That's a good movie.
East of Wall debuted at 16. Witchboard 19. Went Up the Hill at 28. The Glassworker 31. Suspended Time 37.
The Glassworker joining our blue-collar Avengers coming soon.
Descended to 38. And that was the weekend that was worldwide. Nisha still at 2. Lilo and Stitch still, at number 1 with almost 2 billion.
Yeah.
Lilo and Stitch at just over $1 billion. Yeah, everything's pretty much about where we left it
Hang on.
last week.
Okay, so let's do a couple of things here.
Yeah.
So, one, Superman not going to hit 650,
Yep.
which it was probably about the number it needed, all things considered.
Still hasn't cracked 600 million yet.
No, it's close enough that it'll probably crawl over that line next week, but
Maybe.
not good. The number of people who were crowing about its success for 2 weeks, who have now pivoted to who cares about the money, it was great because it's not going to make more than Man of Steel, not even adjusting for inflation. And Man of Steel made like 7 and change. And this is not going to hit that. And now all the gun cultists are like, who cares about the money? Shut up. It was a great movie, and it's reinvigorated DC, don't you understand? And we all just, you flaming hypocrites.
Propaganda is real.
It really is.
Rounding out our top 10 are the Fantastic Four at 469.
Which managed to crawl past Captain America Brave New World.
I hate to tell people that's a fucking bomb, and I don't want to keep having the same conversation every week, but I'm going to beat that drum because I'm annoyed with people. So yeah, Fantastic Four and Superman, both bombed. Lots of luck, people.
Fantastic Four is barely going to make 500 million when it's all said and done. And that's not enough. Now, look, I'm not here saying, I'm not going to pretend that there's not a little bit of Schadenfreude in me on this. I'm honest enough to admit it. But I'm not here like gleefully celebrating the death of, some of these movies, because I'm not. But we have to be honest about this. Like, the market cap on superhero movies these days is 600 million if you're lucky.
That's actually come up. I'm going to stop sharing. That's actually come up in a couple of different places where, and we've talked about this before, but I think some reframing is in order. So I'm willing to talk about
more.
This
well, there's more information and more data now. So yeah.
Well, okay. At 2019, the height of the market, getting to $1 billion and that being the norm, so that the normal budget for a movie to potentially make $1 billion was about 200 to 250 million. Sometimes it would get up to 300 million, but those were very special cases, like Avengers,
Avatar.
But for the most part, reasonable people, who could do math, greenlit movies on a $200 to $250 million budget. And because we were riding high at the time, you can almost look at it as like the big movie bubble.
Yeah.
Most of if you go back to 2019, almost every movie in the top 10 made $1 billion that year,
give or take.
Right. So
one last hurrah.
Yeah.
We didn't know it.
So now, over the course of the last 5 years, there's been a worldwide event or two that has impacted the market. But I think it's important to point out that the real problem here, the honest to God real problem, is that the companies greenlighting movies either greenlit these things prior to 2020, but they didn't go into production until after for a variety of reasons. So they kept budgets in the BC era while making movies in the AD era that couldn't support them. And for a couple of years, you could just blame COVID and the lockdowns. You're like, oh, well, what are we supposed to do? Not make $200 million movies? Come on now, 2019. It's fine. COVID wrecked the industry, but we're building back up. After 2022, you couldn't make that argument anymore. You were far enough away. There were enough movies open for long enough, and the world had more or less returned to normal by that point that you really couldn't make that argument anymore. Certainly by 2023, if you were still making that argument, you were doing propaganda.
Here's why things didn't course correct. Here's the other reasons that things didn't course correct as quickly as they should have. One, stubbornness in the C-suite, because there's always stubbornness there. Two, and we just have to be honest about this, the strikes. The delays that productions faced because of those back-to-back strikes, first the writers and the actors, affected this. And all of this being exacerbated by the creative morass that is coming out of some of these things. We're now at a point where your comic book movie is going to make, if you're lucky, 650 to 7.
or less. The average is going to be about. Let us say the average is 500 million. In which case, you now have to do math and say the 200 to 250 million dollar budget is dead. DED, dead. You now have to go back to the sober pre-2010 blockbuster budget of about $100 million. The high end, other than Avatar, which is its own special country, other than Avatar, Avengers movie, and at this point, what's done with Avengers is done, and maybe Spider-Man. But outside of the 2 Avengers movies and Spider-Man, everything else that's coming out of Star Wars, Marvel, DC, etc., anything greenlit today in the year of our Lord 2025 isn't going to be greenlit for more than $100 million because the high end now is half of what it used to be.
You could get to 150, I think, reliably, but
depending on the project, maybe.
But again, this is just math, guys. When you spend $250 million on a movie, on production, you're gonna spend 150 minimum in marketing.
There's a part of me that despite all of this, there's a part of me that still wants to live in the universe where they greenlit for $250 million Black Rapunzel. I want to live in that world just for I don't want to live
No,
there.
you don't.
I want to take a time portal over to that world.
You want to poke your head in?
Yeah, I just want to poke my head in.
Yeah, because they.
Now I want to see Rapunzel starring Ice Cube.
You know, Ice Cube could have been in Night Always Comes. He might have made more sense in here.
It would have been a much better movie.
No, he's not that good an actor.
Y'all trying to sex traffic me, motherfucker? That would have been great.
You know, he would have been the person sex trafficking her. Is how that would have gone.
Oh, what if he was Jason? What if he was Jennifer Lee's character?
No, he would have been either the pawn shop owner or Eli Roth. One of those two.
Fair. All right, let's wrap this up. In any case, the only point that I'm trying to drive home is that I am pronouncing now the death of the $250 million budget. We're outside of a few stragglers and very special projects. That is the last we're going to see of that.
Do you know the speculated budget for Doomsday?
$300 million. Yeah, well, that's
probably
why I said
more.
Stragglers. So I said stragglers, and we'll have this conversation again.
They guaranteed each actor in that, like it was at least like 5 million, 5 to 10. I forget what it was.
I think they've said like the cast budget alone.
Yeah.
Is like the GDP of fucking Sri Lanka.
Yeah, the cast budget alone on that is north of 150 million.
Jesus fucking Christ. Yeah. All right. Let's move on to our final segment. Yeah, this is the critical review.
Are you ready? No! I said, are you ready?
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
I wasn't ready. I'm Sophia the First.
You've disappointed Triple H, Mark. How dare you?
I'm not ready. Suck it. All right. Oh, good gracious. So for everyone who's just like, you guys are so fucking hard on movies. Don't you like anything? What's wrong with you? Here, Dick. Here we go. Whee! Go fuck yourselves.
That's generous.
Yeah, really. 55% on the tomato meter, 46% on the fan meter.
Again, generous.
So that 55% is all critics. When we go to top critics, it drops 5%. It's not too bad.
Only 10 people bothered to review this on the top end.
Oh, yay. And then there's no verified audience for this. It's just 46% across.
There's no audience for it.
Obviously, there was. All right. So let's see here. Diego Battle of Ostracines.com.
Full review in Spanish.
There is a bit of Martin Scorsese's After Hours. A good deal of
No.
Safdie Brothers narrative universe. But Night Always Comes never reaches those heights.
No, there's not. Keep Scorsese's name away from this piece of crap.
John Serber of Decider. Night Always Comes is taut, suspenseful, affecting, and not easily forgotten. I will be
Very
forgetting after this
easily
review.
forgotten.
I was gonna say, I don't know what you're talking about.
Unless this is your first exposure to like bad movies, in which case, yeah, that'll stick with you.
Let's see.
Oh, that's well, no. That idiot writing for the San Francisco Chronicle. I gotta yell at this guy.
Mike LaSalle of said San Francisco Chronicle top critic. The movie devises lots of fraught, intense moments, but what's even more impressive about the screenplay is the way it seems to understand the psychology of the people Lynette must deal with once she descends into the lower depths. I hate to tell you, but like the noir crime movie is not new.
It's not new, and this is not one of them.
Let's see.
But of course, the guy writing from San Francisco would be complimentary of this.
Let's see. Brian Orndorff of Blu-ray.com. Night Always Comes is almost two movies in a way. Opening is a study of desperation before turning into a crime picture, and the mix of moods doesn't always work.
Never works, my man. Never.
All right, Emma Sachek of Next Best Picture. It's another standout performance from Kirby, who juggles so many different facets of Lynette's life. No, she doesn't. And a stark reminder of a reality that millions of Americans are facing today. Okay, if you really want to say that, then we needed more of her as a, like, you know she's a hooker because of the conversation she's having with Randall Park, but you never got to actually see her as a hooker, so that's a part of her life you don't get to see. And it's only talked about so that she can have a John that she can try to fucking sob story money out of. Like, if you're going to do that, then you have to actually... So this movie is almost 2 hours, and it kind of needs another 15 to 20 minutes of, like, the hard life this woman has actually had.
Yeah.
Because I work 2 jobs. Yes, it's difficult. Facts can confirm. But not the kind of hard life you're talking about in this movie. Like...
No.
You know...
yeah, this is... No, there's so much wrong. The number of people giving this a positive review because they like the general messaging is shocking.
Yeah, that's from who generally will give something a favorable review based on messaging, but the message has to be, coherent.
Just saying, like, it's this is why people don't take critics seriously anymore. This is a lost art form, and it's why we do this segment.
All right, yesterday was the Metal Hammer of Doom Jukebox review, Baby Metal 4th. I don't know what's
going on. Did
you
do a racism again?
Yes, many times. But I don't know what's going on with StreamYard, but apparently, like, when we're doing the recording instead of the live, there's a clicking that's going on, and I don't know what's happening there, and I gotta look into it. But there's a weird clicking on that show. Tomorrow is nothing. Wednesday is me and Alexis reviewing the last season, thank God, of Resident Alien Season 4.
Hey, it's a good show. Be nice.
It went a season or two too long. This Thursday, myself and Mick are going to review Fear Street Prom Queen, The Old Guard 2, and Fountain of Youth. Those
are all not good.
Next week, so I did not plan to do a podcast on Sunday like I would normally do with Jesse because I wanted to watch Forbidden Door. Then found out Forbidden Door was in fucking London, and there won't be a pay-per-view at night. So hey, ladies that are interested in this information, I'm free Sunday night. I just want you to know that. After I give my kids lasagna, I have a free night, believe it or not.
Forbidden Door is Sunday at 1 p.m. Eastern?
That is correct.
Because I'm covering it.
So next week is going to be a little something different, another triple feature, but this time it'll be myself and Robert, and we're finally doing one of the many that we decided we were going to do this year and then never did. This is one of our director focuses that he and I wanted to do together. This is Joel Schumacher. We're going to be looking at The Lost Boys, Falling Down, as mentioned before, and 8mm. What a combination of movies.
Okay, hang on. The fact that 2 of those kind of get shoehorned into this movie between the social commentary and the sex trafficking.
Yeah.
Oh, that'll be fun.
Oh, yeah. A week from Wednesday is the Indysiders. We're going to be looking at Game Changer Wrestling versus Juggalo Championship Wrestling, the 2-day war. because Harry fucking can't make me just one indie show. I have to watch 2 now.
He hates you.
He really does.
This is abusive.
It absolutely is. I am in an abusive relationship with Harry Broadhurst. Speaking of abusive relationships, we're going to be doing a Long Road to Ruin on August 28th. The Toxic Avenger movies. There are 4 of them, so that'll be fun. And that, as they say, is that. Robert Winfrey, what's going on in your world?
So I cover mixed martial arts and professional wrestling over at 411mania.com. WWE SmackDown on Fridays, UFC events on Saturdays, and so this will be again SmackDown on Friday. We are 1 week away from Clash in Paris. Last week was kind of just a bunch of treading water, so that was fun. Last Saturday, a couple of days ago, was UFC 319 from Chicago. My full report for that is in the MMA Zone of 411mania.com. This Saturday at 1 in the morning, my time, I'll be covering the UFC from Shanghai because, I don't know, I've lost control of my life. And then Sunday, I already mentioned, but yeah, AEW's Forbidden Door, I will be covering, so go ahead and tune in for that. I'll have to catch up on what's been going on in AEW. My generalized stance on pro wrestling these days is if I'm not getting paid, I'm not watching it.
Just ask Harry. He knows everything.
I could, but
And you'd have to talk to Harry.
I'm not opposed to talking to him.
Okay.
I would.
Well,
I mean, look, I'm not sure I'd do an indie wrestling podcast with him, but
all right,
some of that's because I'm me. So I also host the 411 Ground and Pound MMA podcast, where I talk the wide, wacky, wonderful world of mixed martial arts and other combat-related sports. This week, I recorded from 2:30 to 4:30 in the morning my time because I suck. No other reason. just I suck. There's a review of UFC 319. There's a preview of the Shanghai card, and there's talk about, because I finally get to talk about the UFC announcing their new broadcast deal for 2026. They're getting $1.1 billion a year for 7 years from Paramount. There will be no more pay-per-view. If you listen to the people actually at TKO and not Dana White going, no, we can totally still do one-off pay-per-views. All fighters with pay-per-view points in your contract, please don't come and try to renegotiate your terms. Business subtext. Dana White is not good at it. So I talk about that. So listen to that podcast if you're so inclined. And yeah, next week, what do we got? Was next week the triple feature or?
That's it. Joel Schumacher.
So next week we talk Joel Schumacher, who alternates between being one of cinema's greatest monsters, one of cinema's least competent, borderline AI Ratnertron style stage managers, and the right guy for bizarrely prescient, moving almost in some cases films. That dude is all over the place.
Joel Schumacher, one of Hollywood's great treasures. All right, folks, thank you for joining us here on Damn You Hollywood. He's Robert. I have stuff to do. Be well, be safe, and behave.